Hi, I'm Jamie at InSwing Golf. Today we have made a visit to Hive 365, which is in the centre of Handforth in Wilmslow, Cheshire. Here, Hive 365 is a new project for office space, hot desks, private offices, virtual offices, meeting rooms, events and networking, and more importantly, at the very bottom, they're having their own golf simulator. So we're here today to help them do some of their finishing touches, install their screen, their helmets, and to get their projector image set up. Hi guys, so here we are in the new golf simulator room at Hive 365 in Handforth. InSwing Golf have come today to help the guys install their screen and helmet sets, so we thought while we were here doing that, we would share with you all how we fit an InSwing Super Knit baffle screen and custom padded helmet set. So the first thing we're going to do with the impact screen is the Super Knit baffle. This particular one has a blackout backing, which improves the image of the screen and also absorbs a little bit of the impact as well. So we're going to remove that. We're going to measure the width of the screen and find its center. So let's get started. So now we've removed the blackout backing, now it's time to measure. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the band, the PVC banding on the screen, nice and straight and tight, and then we're going to measure the width. Then we're going to find the center of the screen. We're then going to measure the first right and left eyelet from the center of the screen, and then we're going to copy that and put that into the ceiling. So we'll get this measured up and we'll start getting this thing hung. So when you're measuring the screen, if you're fitting this on your own or fitting an impact screen on your own, it can be quite difficult to get the band pulled out nice and tight and straight without having a second pair of hands. So just a quick little tip, what I've done, I've just popped a little screw in the floor, hooked the screen on, and this allows me to pull this really tight all the way along. So now I can get a good measure of the true width of the screen. So we've got our screen measured out here. It's exactly 4 meters wide, this screen. So the first thing we're going to do is just find the halfway spot, put a little mark on the top band, nothing too drastic. You can use a pen, a pencil. I've got a marker pen here, absolutely fine. So at the 2 meter point, I'm just going to put a little mark just to represent my center. And then we're going to measure from this center mark to the first right and left eyelet, ignoring one if it's in the center. So I'm going to mark it from the center of the eyelet to the center mark of the screen. So we have there we have 24 centimeters. So I'm just going to put a little 24 on that side there. And then from the center to the center of the eyelet, we have 38. So I'm just going to mark a little 38 next to that eyelet. So next step, we're going to do exactly the same thing, but we're going to do it with the ceiling. So we're going to measure right across the ceiling. We're going to find the center of the opening. Then I'm going to take the measurement from the first and second eyelet from the center point of the screen, and I'm going to mark those on the ceiling. And then we're going to duplicate those markings up there and start hanging the screen. So now we've marked the center of the opening. We're just going to transfer the measurements that we made from the center to the left and right eyelet, and then we should be ready to get this thing up. So now everything's measured out, we're just going to get the Velcro blackout backing back onto the screen, nice and tight and straight, and then we'll take the screen up and start fixing it. Now again, if you're doing this on your own, it's a good idea to kneel on the area that you've fixed, pull the band nice and tight, and pull the screen band nice and tight, and fix it to the Velcro. And just keep doing this all the way along so everything is nice and straight and nice and tight. Otherwise you can put kinks, which will then cause the screen to have some kinks in it as well. A little bit fiddly, not too arduous, but just keep putting pressure on the two and pulling it nice and tight until you get to the very end. And the job's a good one. Ready to get this up into the ceiling. So we've had to take a little bit of a break from installing the impact screen. As you can see behind me, there's quite a bit of mess going on and a little bit of work. Just as we were ready to fit the screen, it transpired that the original joiners had not put anything solid in the ceiling to fix the screen too. So a massive, massive thank you and shout out to the guys at AT Builders from Macclesfield, who have come to our rescue to rectify this so we can carry on and get this screen and helmets installed again. So we're back to where we left off, just about to fit the screen. You can see now that the little issue there has been rectified. Absolutely brilliant. Again, thanks to the guys at AT Builders in Macclesfield for dashing in to help save the day. So we're going to get this screen up now. The way we fix the screen to the timber frame, you'll notice there's no angle line. There's no need for angle line with a timber frame. So we've got a 16 gauge eye screw, which will screw in very securely into that timber. And we're then going to attach 200mm T-bar, 4mm bungee, and that's what's going to hold the screen up. So let's get it up. So the first thing we're going to do to help us fit the eye screws into the timber is, it's always wise just to put some pilot holes in. These are quite thick and chunky, so it stops the timber from splitting when you twist them in. And when you do a pilot hole, the screws go in so much more easy by hand. Get them to just when they're tightening up, pop another one in, just for a bit of leverage. And you want to twist these all the way in until the screw is fully in, and you want the eye screw facing outwards like so. So we're going to carry on with the next one, start getting the screen up, and then I'll show you how to put the others in. So there's lots of different ways to fit an impact screen. I'm going to show you the way that I like to do it. So what I've done here, I've got the first two that we marked out earlier. That's just taking the center of the screen and pulling it up. I've put a couple of temporary fixings. These are just temporary. This is just to pull the screen apart. I just wanted to check that we've got 100 to 75 mil of gap between here and the wall or the timber frame, which we have. And what I actually like to do now to get a good hang, to get it nice and square, is I like to start with fixing the bottom of the screen now. Once that's fixed, I'm going to go back up to the top. I'm going to start to put more eye screws in there, and I'm going to pull this up until it's nice and straight and flat. And then I'm going to work back down the side walls. I always find it just gives a really nice finish at the bottom. Sometimes the bottoms get a bit pulled and creased, and I just find this way eliminates quite a lot of that. So most impact screens have spacings between their eyelets. They're generally between 20 and 30 centimeters apart. That doesn't always mean that you can go up there and gauge 20 to 30 centimeters and just put these in all the way around. It doesn't quite work like that, I find. So what I like to do is I like to put fixings where the screen is directing me to put them. So it will start to move a little bit, and where it starts to tension, as I go through this, I get a better idea of where things need to be. It saves me doing the job twice. It might take a little bit longer now, but it does save me doing the job twice. So we're going to crack on with that. The Super Knit baffle screen that I'm using here, you'll notice the eyelet isn't at the very bottom. It's about 4 inches from the bottom. The reason for this is I like to fix the bottom by laying that eyelet. You can see there's about 4 inches of screen on the floor here. I like to put this to the floor. I'm going to fix an eye screw right as close to the floor as I can possibly get it. Sometimes you have to put it in on an angle and then use a hammer just to flatten it down. I'm then going to attach that, and what's going to happen is as I start to tension the top of the screen, this will raise up and it will slide in, leaving pretty much just the bottom band sitting on the floor with this bottom eyelet being pulled on an angle into the corner. So a lot of people take the tension out of the screens at the bottom. I'm going to take the tension from the top. So any sagging, any excess material is going to be adjusted from the top and not at the bottom. So you'll see this as we go on. Now these two bottom eye screws are probably going to be the most time consuming because you don't have an awful lot of room to work in. So you are literally doing these in very small sections. I try and get it so when this eyelet is upright or vertical, the bottom of it is sitting on the turf. That gives me just enough clearance to turn this just with fingers until it becomes too tight to do that. As I go, I can bend this down and screw it as well. This has been quite kind to me because it's going in quite a lot just with fingers. And then we just start to so you see this is now starting to dig into the turf. It's getting very close to the floor. Okay, one more, we should be there. Right, we're in. So with this last eye screw, contradictory to the others, I'm going to try and get this facing down to the floor. This is going to allow me to get the bungee a little bit lower. So you can see how nice and flat and straight that screen is sitting to the floor at the moment. So we're going to go ahead and do this on the other side and then we'll go back up to the top. So now we've got the bottom of the screens fixed, and you can see the material there is sitting nicely flat to the floor. I'm going to go up to the top. I'm not going to fit all of the eyelets and eye screws just yet. I'm going to do some, then I'm going to come back down and I'm going to work up the sides from the bottom up a bit, and then I'm going to do a bit more of the top, and then I'm going to keep working this up until the tension in the middle is right and we start to get rid of any excess at the top. So you'll notice at this point I haven't marked where any of the other eye screws should be. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to let the screen tell me where they actually need to go. So if we start to pull, you can see the bungees start to move in the direction that things are being pulled in, and ideally we want to keep our center mark on the screen in line with the center mark on the ceiling. So keeping the bungees pointing down at 90 degrees, I'm just going to pull slightly on the band just to keep it straight. So I'm not pulling the bungee, I'm just holding this nice and straight, and I'm just going to mark where that's happy. And then I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to do exactly the same. So you notice I'm going to go side to side. I'm not doing one side then the other, because eventually you'll find your bungees start to pull in different directions. They may do that towards the end, but you've got more chance of keeping things nice and balanced if you go from side to side. Again, a little bit more time consuming, but it can save you doing a job twice in the long run. Okay, so with the majority of the eyelets done at the top, I'm going to stop here. So there's only 2 left on either side to do. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to shorten the bungees at the top here. I'm going to pull the screen up just to take this little bit of excess out at the bottom. Now with the bungees and the eye screws, it's really simple to do. All we do is we unhook it, start with the center and just lift it and loop it back through the eyelet. And you can see this is hanging well below the T-bar. So we try and hold it in place. I try and leave about 2 inches, and we're just going to keep wrapping this through to try and maintain. Probably go once more. And we're just going to try and maintain a 2-inch gap between the top of the screen and the bottom of the bungee. So I'm going to do that with the rest of these, and then we should be good to start doing some at the sides. So now that I've got most of them in at the top, I've shortened them. So there's about a 2-inch gap from the edge of the band to the underside of the eye screws. You can see that now that's taken some of that sag out of the bottom. So in theory, what I've done is left 4 inches on the floor, because that's where the eyelet was to the bottom of the screen. I've pulled it up by 2 inches, which pretty much leaves us with the 2-inch PVC band sitting nicely flat across the floor at 90 degrees, which will help us get a great finish. So I haven't fixed the corners yet. I'm now going to start doing some work on the sides, and I'm going to start from the ground up. I'm going to go from side to side, trying to keep things the same and equal the whole time so we get a nice, straight, square hanging screen. Now, a little tip, shoes off, stand on the band and just gently tug on the screen. You don't want to pull it up too tight because you can see how you start getting creases. We're just going to get this very similar to up above. We're just going to get the band straight, and so I don't lift the screen, I'm going to stand on the band and I'm going to start marking out on the wall the position of these eyelets. There's no need to do every single one, so I'll do probably all 3 near the bottom, skip one, fix one, skip one, and so on and so forth. Once that's done, if there's any areas that need a little bit of tweaking, then we've got empty eyelets there to use. So we'll get these sides done now. So a little bit sweaty, a little bit huffy, cramp in the fingers, but we have it. So the impact screen is hung. Now you can probably see that everything looks pretty even around the screen. The gap at the top, we've maintained that. And the bungees that we put in at the sides that were set at 90 degrees have all now started to angle downwards. And that's because we've pulled the excess from the bottom to the top, and that's forcing these to then pull the screen outwards and downwards, so we get a really nice straight finish on the screen. So that's how I like to hang them. As I said, there's lots of other ways to do it. This might be a little bit laborious, but I always find that when you do it this way, the screen comes out almost perfectly square, flat and straight, and ready to project a great image.